Hey guys, today we're going to answer the question, how do I solve one-step equations and verify their solutions? So we've been looking at expressions, now we're going to look at an equation. An equation is two expressions that are set equal to each other, so we're going to have that equal sign. And in this problem, let's look at the coefficient, constant, variable, and then circle the equal sign. So I already did that. Remember, the coefficient is the number in front of x. So in this one, it would be 12. The variable is the unknown. Usually we use a letter to represent it. This time it is x. There's our equal sign, and then 3 is the constant since that's a number by itself. It's important that you know these words because I'm going to refer to this as the coefficient, this is the variable, and this is the constant. So you need to know what I'm talking about. Okay, let's talk about how to solve a one-step equation. So if we have an equal sign, then we are going to be doing inverse operations to get that variable by itself. That's going to be the goal. This is only when we have an equal sign. So to solve a one-step equation, we are trying to isolate the variable with inverse or opposite operations. So ask yourself what operation is taking place and how can you undo it. So for example, if you see that there is addition going on, then the opposite of that is subtraction. So we will subtract. If you see that there's multiplication going on, then we will do the opposite of that, which is to divide. And then the reverse is true too. If you see subtraction, we will add to isolate the variable. If you see division, we will multiply to undo the variable. And then after we get our answer, we are going to verify that our solution is correct by substituting our answer back in for the variable to make sure that it makes the equation true. So let's practice this on number 1. If we solved this, we would get that x equals 6. So now I want to verify that x equals 6 is true. So all I'm going to do is replace x in the equation with 6. And the equation becomes 6 plus 3 equals 9, and 6 plus 3 is 9, so I get 9 equals 9, which is true. So we just proved that x equals 6 is the solution. All right, then there's one special case we need to go over if we have a fraction coefficient. If the coefficient is a fraction, then we are going to multiply by the reciprocal to isolate the variable. So let's talk about y. This is 3/2 times x. This really means 3/2 times x. So we would have to divide by 3/2 to undo that. And remember, dividing by a fraction is the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. So if you ever have a fraction coefficient, we are going to multiply by the reciprocal to isolate the variable. And then if you think about this, 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times 2 is 6, so we would get 6 over 6, which is 1, and we would just have 1x or x, which is the goal when solving an equation. You want to isolate the variable. And then 9 times 2/3 would be 18 over 3, which is 6. All right, let's practice solving some equations, and then we're going to practice verifying the solution as well. So on this first one, I have x plus 8 equals negative 22. So what is happening to x? We are adding 8 to it. And the opposite of adding 8 is subtracting 8. So I'm going to subtract 8 from each side. And 8 minus 8 is 0, so that zeroes out. And I bring down my x. And negative 22 minus 8 is negative 30. So I get x equals negative 30. And then the last thing that we want to do is verify that this solution is true. So I'm going to replace x with negative 30. So negative 30 plus 8 should equal negative 22. Which negative 30 plus 8 is negative 22, so we did this correctly. So x equals negative 30 is the correct solution here. Okay, let's look at number 2. X is being divided by 3. And the opposite of dividing by 3 is multiplying by 3. So to get x isolated, I'm going to do that inverse operation of times 3. And whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other side. So these inverse operations cancel each other out, and I'm left with the x, and then negative 13 times 3 is negative 39. Last thing I need to do is verify that the solution is correct, so I'm going to replace x with negative 39. And I get negative 39 over 3 equals negative 13. And negative 39 divided by 3 is negative 13. So we did this correctly. So our solution is x equals negative 39. Okay, number 3, I have 12x equals 108. So 12x means that x is being multiplied by 12. And the opposite of multiplying by 12 is dividing by 12. So that's how I will isolate x. I will divide both sides by 12. And 108 divided by 12 is 9. Last thing I need to do is double check that I did this correctly, verify my solution. So I'm going to replace x with 9. So 12 times 9 should equal 108, which it does. So I did this correctly, and I just verified that x equals 9 is my solution. Number 4, I have x minus 11 equals negative 43. I am subtracting 11 from x, and the opposite of subtracting 11 is adding 11. So I'm going to add 11 to both sides of the equal sign. And that zeroes out right there, so x is by itself. And then 43 plus 11 is 54. Last thing I need to do is verify that x is 54, so I'm going to replace x with 54. And 54 minus 11 should equal 43, which it does. So I just verified that x equals 54 is the solution. All right, number 5, x is being multiplied by negative 8. And the opposite of multiplying by negative 8 is dividing by negative 8. So to get x by itself, I'm going to divide by negative 8, and whatever I do to one side, I need to do to the other. Negative 8 divided by negative 8 is 1. So now there's just one x. The x is isolated like I needed it to be. And then negative 8 divided by negative 8 is positive 11. Last thing I'm going to do is verify that this is the correct solution. I'm going to replace x with 11. So negative 8 times 11 should equal negative 88, which it does. So I did this problem correctly, and x equals 11 is the solution. Number 6, I have x plus 1.3 equals 4.8. So I am adding 1.3 to x. I have to do the inverse or opposite of that, which is minus 1.3. So I'm going to subtract 1.3 from x, and whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. I bring down the x, 1.3 minus 1.3 zeros out. And then 4.8 minus 1.3 is 3.5. And then the last thing I need to do is verify the solution. So I'm going to replace x with 3.5. So 3.5 plus 1.3 should equal 4.8. 3.5 plus 1.3 is 4.8, so I get 4.8 equals 4.8, which is true, so that means x equals 3.5 was the correct solution. Okay, number 7, I have a fraction times x equals 8. So I am multiplying by 2/5. So I need to divide by 2/5. And remember, to divide fractions, we can multiply by the opposite or reciprocal instead. So I'm going to multiply both sides of this equation by 5/2. 5 times 2 is 10, 2 times 5 is 10, so this ends up being 10 over 10 or 1, and now the x is isolated. And then I need to do 8 over 1 times 5/2, which is 40 over 2 or 20. So x equals 20. And then the last thing I need to do is verify that this solution is correct. So I'm going to replace x with 20 and see if it equals 8. So 2/5 times 20 should equal 8. 2/5 times 20 would be 40 over 5 equals 8. And 40 divided by 5 is 8. So we did this correctly, and x equals 20 is the correct solution. Number 8, I have x minus 7.6 equals 1.4. So I am subtracting 7.6 from both sides. I need to do the opposite of that, which is add 7.6. So I'm going to add 7.6 to this side of the equal sign, and I have to do it to this side as well. And I get x equals 1.4 plus 7.6 is 8. Oh no, sorry, 9. 9.0 or just 9. So now I just need to verify that this solution is correct. I'm going to substitute in 9 for x. So 9 minus 7.6 should equal 1.4. Let's make sure that that is true. I'll need to borrow. And I do get 1.4 when I do 9 minus 7.6. So I know I have the correct solution, and x is equal to 9. All right, let's look at number 7. It says Michael has $78, which is 20 more than the amount of money that Alex has. How much money does Alex have? So here's the question, how much money does Alex have? That is the unknown. Remember, our variable is the unknown, so our variable x, I'm going to let that equal Alex's money. And now I'm going to write an equation so that we can solve for Alex's money. It says that Michael has $78, which is, so that means the equal sign, 20 more than the amount of money that Alex has. So that means we would have Alex's money and then add 20 to it. So now I need to get x by itself. X is being added to 20, and the opposite of adding 20 is subtracting 20. And 78 minus 20 is 58. So Alex has $58 if Michael has 20 more than him. Number 8 says Travis bought 5 boxes of Girl Scout cookies and paid $25.50 in total. How much was each box? So there's the unknown that we're looking for, the boxes. So x is going to be the number of boxes of Girl Scout cookies. It says Travis bought 5 boxes, so that would be 5x, and he paid $25.50 in total. So now I need to divide by 5. 25.50 divided by 5, that would be 5. Bring down the 25, bring down the 5 there. 5 can go into 5 one time, and we get 0. So looks like each box cost $5.10. Number 9 says write an equation for the model shown. Write an equation and solve for the models shown. So here's our equal sign. On the left side of it, I have 1, 2, 3 x's. And then on the right side, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 ones, and they're all negative. So the equation shown here is 3x equals negative 9. So to solve this, I need to get x isolated. I need to do the opposite of 3 times x, which is to divide by 3. And I get x equals negative 9 divided by 3 is negative 3.